All right, everybody, welcome back to the family reunion, our final day here at the NBA crossover, our Wilson basketball activation, our A1 since day one panel discussion. We have some very great guests joining us. Off to the right of me, Fredo Wilks, who holds it down on some NIL deals, and then also is the cousin of Trey Burke. My guy, Matt Rosenberg over here, entrepreneur and philanthropist, and also a great friend and manager for Joakim Noah. Anthony Hamilton, our guy Wilson, Team Wilson member too, on the lifestyle side, and holds it down, kind of a jack of all trades on the social media side, athlete, and very influential too. And then Rob Villanueva too, from the Players Tribune, and then also the brother of Charlie Villanueva. Then off to my left, my guy Corin. So yeah.
What's going on? Excited to have you guys here. I think you guys are the people that keep basketball moving, keep the players hopefully in line and checked so they show up to practice, show up to games. So excited to talk, and thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, and I want to open it up here, and we can kind of go around the table. The most important quality or trait that one must possess in your role, what would that be?
For me, I would just say continuing the grind, even when I get discouraged, and just keep pushing.
Honestly, it's something that I deal with in my everyday life, but it's trust, the trust factor. I mean, that's one of the things that athletes, you have to earn. You can't build that overnight. And athletes get approached constantly with brands, with fans, with different opportunities. And to develop that trust off the bat, it's something that takes a lot of work. So that's one of the traits that you cannot take for granted. And it's more of a marathon, and you have to build that. So trust is one of the biggest factors when developing any sort of athlete relationship.
Rob, I just want to ask you on that point. So I think you're in a unique situation where your brother's with Charlie Villanueva. Right. So there's a lot more trust that comes with family. How do you, as Charlie's brother, and some of you guys who work with some of these players who are not family members, kind of infiltrate that family bond, and then kind of vet out who works on your team that's not family and who doesn't work on your team?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when Charlie got drafted, like the whole family, you got cousins coming out of nowhere trying to be down, especially we're from the Dominican Republic. So they coming out of in New York, so everyone's trying to come through, right? So it's like, it's hard because we have to have an understanding of everyone's pros and cons and qualities and how they can contribute. Ultimately, I always said, Charlie, you're my brother, but I'm always going to look out for your best interests. And obviously, as a brother, you would do that. As a family member, you would do that. But keeping in mind that, looking out for your best interests is we're investing in you so you can invest in us. And he made it clear that this was something that, it was like a tree that takes a lot of watering, takes a lot of nurturing. And one of the things that I regretted early on was, when he got drafted, I was like, oh, we all got drafted. We're in the streets, we're partying, we're hanging out. I was DJing, doing parties and wilding out early on these first few years. But I wish I would have taken more time to understand, the platform that we had, the opportunities and the resources and the doors that really opened up. So going back to your question, the people that we included in our team, and obviously being brothers is easier to adapt that, but from whether it was a cousin, whether it was somebody at his agency that's part of his close circle, we were trying to figure out how can you contribute to the long-term plans. And that made it easier to filter out, the other ones.
I want to kick it to you, Matt, because you're in an interesting position with Joakim. Can you tell your story a little bit of how you guys connected?
Yeah, I mean, we connected at a basketball camp when we were 13. And about a year or two later, he came to the high school I was at. And it wasn't like a basketball school at all. And, he was a little younger than me. We got really close. We were teammates. And, when he got better later on, as Rob knows us, we know Rob 20 years,
Yes, sir.
So Joakim kind of blew up later on. So I was already in college. I was a little bit older. And he felt real comfortable when the calls started coming for me to take them, because we had developed really a teammate, old big brother, little brother bond. At that point, we're only a year and a half apart, but at the time, that was a big age gap. And just been taking these calls ever since, and things have taken a lot of twists and turns and really grown.
So how long did it take for you to start to understand what he likes, what he doesn't like, because you knew him as a friend, but then how did you start to see who he was as a person?
I mean, you can tell who he is as a person even now. You guys know him a little bit. You can tell him within 5 minutes of meeting him. And I hate to, brag about him, but that's the type of person he is really. Rob knows him very well since he's young. So that's not hard to figure out. Dealing with some of the quirks, like I'm still figuring that out, you know? That's like, that changes all the time. And when you think you know something, you know, you really don't. And to Rob's point, like trust is very important. And what I was going to say is like humility and being able to humble yourself. Because in a lot of these situations, a lot of things do get thrown our way. We have a lot of distractions or stuff, not even just their distractions, our own stuff. And, you know, you got to like put things in perspective and kind of keep your eye on the prize and know what's important. So, and I'm not even saying I always had the right answer, always did that, but, you know, it's life, so.
On that note, how did you find that balance, though, between those decision-making, knowing that, hey, I could trust Charlie, I could trust Joaquim's decision-making, but at the same time also knowing that I could also come in and maybe help provide a little bit of guidance when needed?
I think you really have to be willing to have, like, tough conversations. And, you know, part of humbling yourself is also, like, being able to, you know, sometimes say what they need to hear. And I mean, I know some of the battles we face, some of the ups and downs. I live those. I'm sure Rob could speak more to that as well.
You said earlier, every day there's growth, right? There's different levels and tiers to their careers. Early on, the first 2 or 3 years, Charlie's in the league. He's happy. He's willing to do anything. You tell him, hey, do this, do this. I'm going. Year 6, year 7, now you're a vet. It's like, I'm good. I got to try to convince him. And we've gotten into like almost like damn near physical arguments that I'm trying like, yo, we committed to this. Let's do this. This is good for your career. It's like, nah, I'm good. Because now you got some money saved up and you can call shots. So there's a lot of learning lessons for sure. And I think once you start to understand, you know, yeah, maybe he doesn't have to do this. Like, yeah, you know, you're getting $5,000 here to make an appearance or $10,000 or something like that, right? But maybe what is in the long run? So I had to have more understanding as he got older. And also, too, when they have children and they have a family, you have to understand that balance as well and not overcommit them.
I think you see a trend with athletes in their career. The early commercials they do is some of the most garbage videos ever that they're the most embarrassed about. But then at the end of their career, they start taking more deals with brands that align with them. I just want to ask you, Anthony, because you've got a little unique perspective as, you know, a successful college athlete, and you work closely with players that you're teammates with. So how does that perspective look, you know, where you have that comfortability with guys in the locker room, and you work off of them, they know what you're about, you see behind the curtain. What's that relationship like when you then try to advise them on something?
I think that kind of goes into like what I do with talking to people also, and dealing with athletes, because I'm an athlete myself. Yep. And like he said, you know how your client is the first 5 minutes that you meet them, right? So my thing is, I was a sociology major at Clemson, so I study how people think, how to interact with people, what people like, what they don't like, so I can read somebody in a second. My thing is, when I'm interacting with somebody, I'm just myself, but I want to make somebody feel comfortable to be around me. And with athletes that are like closed off, or they don't want to speak, or, you know, everything in that nature, I do my best to just make them laugh, make them feel comfortable, make them feel like family.
You do a good job.
No, too, and this kind of kicks back to you, Anthony, too, because you're doing a lot of NIL deals right now, and you're coming off of a space right now where, when you know, that was coming out the woodworks for you, but also it's so different now, right? In 2022, social media, you're getting approached by all these different brands. So on your side, on the NIL deals, like building those relationships, so do you see it where you're 19 years old, that you're able to kind of relate more and they confide in you and kind of trust you a little bit more?
Yeah, like you touched up on, I'm an athlete myself as well, so being at their age, I feel like I can see what they want and see what type of deals they want and just trying to make them feel comfortable.
And do you see it, though, from your side where it's like, you said everybody's coming towards you, offering you everything. How are you weighing all of that out, knowing, hey, man, this is
I feel like at a point, like what you said about the commercials being garbage, like I remember when we had first met, I was just like, just give me a ball, I'll do whatever. Just let me do me, you know what I'm saying? So it got from a point to where it's like, I'm doing every little thing that I can to just build my brand. Like, my brand is my name, so build my accounts, build my brand up. And after a while, it's like what he was talking about, how like his athletes don't want to go to everything because you have to, now you have an image to uphold. So you can't do like I can't do something with Jordan and then go do something with Skechers. No disrespect to Skechers at all. I love Skechers. I love them, but you, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, you can't do something for Rolex and then do something for Ross. You know what I'm saying?
Brand loyalty.
It's brand loyalty, and I feel like I want to work with brands and stick with brands that reflect me and how I am as a person, and also the level that I'm trying to achieve.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
I want to ask Fred, because you make a good point how you're young, so you can kind of connect with a younger player. And then I want to flip it to you, Rob, because it's like, how is that received from a brand's end? Because, you know, we're on behalf of Wilson Basketball, we talk to people all different ages. You know, an agent might be an older guy, agent might be a younger guy. So someone like yourself, how does a brand perceive you when you're coming in to take a meeting? Like, what are those conversations like? And then, Rob, I'd love to hear your perspective, you know, as like an older soul who's been around the block and had some hard conversations as well.
For me, it's been advantage and disadvantage, because sometimes brands will come in and be like, well, you're young, you don't have any experience, and sometimes it's an advantage because they know, like, people like Trey or my mentors, they can come in, and those are the ones that gave me the experience.
And then, Matt, you can chime in too after.
Actually, repeat the question one more time.
So I'm just curious how brands perceive, you know, someone younger approaching them about a client as opposed to you, Rob, and Matt, who've been around longer and seen more. Like, what's that approach like?
Yeah, I mean, like, if a lot of these new kids, especially with NIL, they're a lot more savvy. They're a lot more not only like savvy in social, but savvy in tech, savvy in business. They're making investments early on. So I think for some of the younger generations, especially with NIL being a wide open gate, they're taking self-approach on inquiring more information, getting more resources. Where on the flip side, when back in the days, especially some of these older athletes, they wanted the information to come to them via the agent, via the manager, and they would not necessarily take that self-approach. So I think because of social media, athletes have been creating more self-awareness, more self-empowerment. Education is a lot more accessible. I mean, we had YouTube and other tools. Yeah, we had YouTube back in the days, but like they weren't searching for how to better my personal brand or how to better my social growth on social media. So because of the access to information, I think these younger athletes have a lot more opportunities than they ever did.
Well, I mean, I would just say, like, from my perspective, and where my guy's at, it's got to be community based. So like you guys, for example, like, we don't have a deal with you, but he'll post, you'll support our stuff. You know, you just sent me 100 basketballs to Cameroon and 100 tennis rackets. So like that brand partnership, or whatever you want to call it, sort of means more than sometimes if you're getting a big check, and it doesn't really matter, at least to him, because of where he's at in his life and his career. So, I mean, everybody's different. Like, this NIL stuff is, like, super interesting. I don't have to deal with it. But, like, if Joakim was, like, Florida Joakim now, we'd probably be making a lot of money. So
for
I study it, I learn it, but it doesn't apply to me.
Big shout out to Wilson Basketball for supporting the next generation overseas. Like, that's big. That's big of y'all. There wasn't nothing you wanted in return but to help those younger athletes. So big shout out to y'all.
And Matt, I want to stay with you on that same topic, though, because in that philanthropy space and in the space that you're in, Joakim does so much, and you see the impact he's had in Chicago, right, just by being him, but then all over the world. So especially in Africa now with the academy and all of that, what does that mean to you, and how proud does that make you when you see that work come to fruition?
I mean, it's a term he kind of uses a lot, but I'll use it here. He calls it purpose work, and to be able to do that kind of work, and essentially even through like his investment in NBA Africa, that's an economic investment. But it's to grow the game on the continent, so the next stars on the continent are trained, prepared over there, playing the BAL, etc. So it's purposeful work, but if it grows the way we expect it to, he's going to make money on it. So, I mean, it's just that's kind of is that what you're asking? Okay,
Yep.
that's kind of where we're at. So it feels great to be able to be involved in things like that, to wake up and work on things and have purpose. You don't know when you're going to get paid or how you're going to get paid. You know you probably will get paid, but that's not the point. The point is to, to really help.
I think, Anthony, you have a unique perspective on this as well, because you mentioned earlier you reached out to Derek on your own. Like, you kind of represent yourself, which is amazing to see as well. So, like, how do you, as your A1 Day One, navigate different brands, and who do you reach out to, and who do you want to work with and stuff like that?
So when I realized that this is something that I wanted to do, like, I had to promise myself that I was going to make it like my life.
Yeah.
So I would sit down. I remember I would sit down every Sunday. I would script out something that I would send to 100 different brands, DM, email. I have it all on file, whatever contacts I have and messages like, hey, here's a quick little video that I can do for your brand. If you're interested, I'll do a video for free. I don't want anything in return except product to do it with. You know what I'm saying? So just starting off doing that, I started doing it at a young age. So I kind of learned different tricks. And my number one thing that I tell athletes that are in college now doing the NIL stuff, I say just make a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like there's a person running that account with 20 million followers. There's a person running these accounts.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? They're human beings.
Totally.
So my goal was I don't care about money. I don't care about the followers. I don't care about none of that stuff. I care about surrounding myself with great people so I can build a team. So, like, this is family. You guys are family.
Yep.
And my goal with you when I first had met Derek was he's really cool. I want to connect with him just to get to know him. He's very cool. Yeah, but like
You're the second person to tell me that outside my mother. So
yeah, that's dope. No, but that was my number one thing. So when I'm talking to athletes now, and I'm only 22, so it's like when I'm talking to athletes now because they ask me for advice in this space, I just say just build a relationship with the person that's working in that field, and then you'll get a hookup here, you'll get a hookup there, you might get a contract or a deal here.
It's great advice.
You know what I'm saying? It's just building the relationship.
On that same token, it's not only building the relationships, but also planting the seeds that will allow these relationships to open. Because, like, having for Instagram, for example, you have your Instagram feed, you don't only have to post about your sport. You can generally post about your passions. Like, if you love to cook, you post cooking videos. If you love to read, post about the books you're reading. Because you'd be surprised if you use the right hashtag, or you tag the right account, or engage with the brands you're looking to work with. You'd be surprised who hits you back and be like, yo, that was dope. We just saw it. Maybe you could be a part of something.
And Rob, I'll commend you on that, because I think Charlie did a great job towards the end of his career speaking on alopecia.
Yes.
So, like,
alopecia is he has alopecia areata. He's had it since the age of 10, and when he was at UConn as a freshman, he got involved early on with the National Alopecia Areata Foundation.
Yeah.
And he's built a 20-year career on advocating for alopecia awareness. And I mean, there was kids that will go to the game to see him in his rookie year that are now grown-ass adults.
That's amazing.
And he still establishes that relationship because it was a true cause that was dear to him, right?
Yep.
And he kept it genuine.
Yep.
And he never shied away from it, so he embraced that. So embracing your challenge, your passions, the things you love to do, don't be afraid to post that.
I think the authenticity is the main thing that comes through. Is Charlie was passionate about it. He was authentic about it. I think Joakim is the same exact type of person. He will not, the stuff he says in a press conference is, and we're in Cleveland, we're not going to bring it up, but the stuff he says in a press conference is all authentic to him. You're not going to use, what you see is what you get. And I think that authenticity is why all of the players that you guys represent and work with and know are some of the figureheads of the NBA.
You know, what you said earlier, like you're your own manager, you represent yourself, but like when managers and agents get involved, sometimes they try to switch up that narrative, and that becomes a little more difficult for you to stay on the path that you want to stay at. I don't know if you've encountered that.
Oh, yeah. So I'm signed now, but that happened as soon as NIL happened. I hopped on the college basketball team, collected those NIL checks, and I got up out of there. So you guys know how that story is. But I was done with Clemson. I went to Chicago State. I got offered a scholarship just to take advantage of the NIL rule. Yeah. And that's when I was like, okay, now I need an agent because I'm not going to have time to do this while I'm in school. You know what I'm saying? So I did that and then left, and now I'm being represented by St.
How'd you pick that agent, though? Like that whole approach, because it's like there's so many agents out there just looking for the quick cash grab.
Yeah, I feel like as soon as that rule dropped and I announced that I wanted to go back to school, so many people hit me up. So I took so many different interviews, so many different meetings. People flew out to talk to me, and I feel like just you know when somebody like connects with you, you know?
Yeah.
And there can be a top 3, but there's like a gut feeling like, oh, I need to rock with them. You know what I'm saying? So that was my thing. I just went with my gut. They were great people. They actually cared about me, and they take care of me. So
That's what's up.
sir.
Right, I want to kick it to you now on this because you're cousins with Trey Burke. I loved watching Trey Burke at Michigan. And I know he's a college player of the year, did his thing at Michigan. So, and you saw the trajectory of his journey too, because he made it to the league. You know, he was a top 10 pick, had a stint in the G League, and now he's kind of finding his way still, right? But what is like the biggest piece of advice he was able to offer you that helped you now as you're navigating this space? Because he probably went through something very similar, even though there wasn't NIL then, but now knowing that you're working in that space, being in that agency space.
Most definitely. Well, when Trey got drafted, he got drafted in 2013, and I was 11 years old. And so just being at that young age, and like I said earlier, never seeing him give up, and through his whole journey, through going to the G League and then coming back to the NBA, it just honestly motivated me. And with now this new space that he sees me in with this NIL, he thinks it's pretty cool, and I think it's pretty cool because now we're going to work on some endorsements for him in the future. So,
love that. And Matt, I got to ask too, just because Chicago guy here. So Joakim, during that time, that was like a great stretch, right? 2011 to 2015-ish, Defensive Player of the Year in 14, was it? 14 or 15? Mm-hmm. I'm sure, again, everybody, to some point, they loved his energy, they loved his vibe. They wanted a piece of Joakim. And you kind of talked about it on the Charlie side. And with Joakim being so nice, how were you able to just keep the circle tight, everybody in it that had the loyalty and kept it 100?
I think the short answer to that is you don't, because he's a smart kid. He gets it, and he kind of grew up and walks in a lot of different circles. So, like, you're going to understand, like, nobody's really going to get in because he's got a big friend group. He's got multiple big friend groups. He's got a big family. So it's just, like, you just kind of, like, have to work with, I don't know, play the hand you're dealt. Mm-hmm. But by the time he was, one of the best players in the league, he was already 30. So it wasn't like, I would say it was probably like a little more difficult out of college because that happened fast. But he kept his circle tight. Like, he's well educated, he's a smart kid, he's a worldly person. And it was that's just kind of how it went. Like, I'm not saying there weren't challenges, but nothing like super significant or nothing like terrible.
I think the biggest thing is you had trust. You had trust in him.
For sure, you have to.
Yes.
One more question.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, I just want to ask each one of you really quickly as we wrap, like, what's next? Because, Charlie's retired, so you're still with the Tribune, Rob. If just a quick answer of, like, how do you navigate post-playing world?
Yeah, funny, you read my mind because I was thinking about the same thing when Matt was talking. Like, it's interesting because we're in a space right now where, like, he has some downtime. He's no longer playing. He has some capital. He has some resources. We can capitalize on his relationships. And now he's heavily involved in the real estate game. He has a development company. He's an entrepreneur. He has a restaurant in Houston. But we're really focusing on building a media empire around his passions. And we talked about alopecia earlier. We got a cool project coming up now called the Alopecians. And then it's an NFT project. The NFT project, we're using it as a launch pad to create a whole ecosystem around these alopecians, and they're superheroes. Awesome. So his character, storyline, really that empowers people that have alopecia. So he's going to give back have an opportunity to give back to the alopecia community by making them owners of this project through NFTs.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So post career stuff.
Yeah, you're just in the prime right now, man.
Bro, the prime. Yeah,
you got your time.
I have ideas though. Like, I want to invest in land. You know what I'm saying? I want to help my community. Eventually, when I'm done with this, I want to be on, like, your side of the table. Just helping to consult, be an agent, just to guide people through what I needed help with along the way. Because I did it on my own, so I definitely had some trials and tribulations. You know what I'm saying?
All on your circle now, Evangelist, so we're good.
Well, it's a beautiful thing, though, to be able to. You have this platform now in this new age of social media where you can literally do that. Now people are going to look up to you and say, "Oh, I want to be like that." Right? It's not just the NBA player or the artist. It's like, their favorite influencer or dunker or whatever the case might be. Right? There's that. Yeah.
So too, since you reached out to brands, also, which I'm sure you're probably doing it already, but just in case, don't be afraid to also do collaborations with individuals. Yeah. Because those individuals have also brands that are following them that they're associated with, and that could create new doors too.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, sir.
For me, I would just say like, if I knew a year ago what I know now, like when he like kind of officially called it quits, man, I would have told him to do this a long time ago. And that's just a personal situation. I would say 2 days after he put an Instagram post that he was officially done, I got a call from Amadou Fall about the NBA Africa investment. That's probably the best thing we've ever done, and it's given us a whole new career. We're getting all kinds of marketing deals, investment opportunities, or business deals in Chicago, with a social sort of equity piece to it, that are bigger than when he was playing. I mean, in the last month, I've been to Paris, Senegal, Dakar, Yaoundé, Cameroon. I'm here. I'm going to go back to Dakar for BAL next week. So it's like, it's nonstop, and that's just a personal kind of situation. But yeah, like it's been awesome.
Your passport stamps got to be crazy.
Yeah.
Yo.
Shout out BAL, shout out NBA Africa. For real.
So right now, currently just trying to expand the NIL for myself, and eventually I want to be the best agent ever.
Speaking it in. Well, hey guys, we really appreciate everybody hanging out with us to kick it off here for the Sunday edition of our family reunion activation. Rob, Anthony, Matt, Fredo, Corin, appreciate you guys, and have a good rest of the week, man. Enjoy the festivities. Thanks everybody
Thanks
for tuning
for
in.
having me.
Yeah.
Bless.